just a few things of why budgeting matters. Can we go to the next slide, please? There we go. Thank you. So, we know that stewardship is a biblical principle. And here we have Luke 14:28. And like I said, if it's hard for some of you for you to see, I apologize. It was a little darker on my screen, but I can also send this out to anyone whenever I can give you I can send the actual presentation out so you all can go back through and look at it as well. But I'll read for you. Luke 14:28 says, "For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first, and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it?" And what that scripture is just telling us is, whatever we choose to do, you sit down and you think about, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to finish this? Am I going to be able to do what it takes to make this really happen? And we do this in so many other areas of our lives. But then when it comes to our finances, we just like, well, Jesus, I give it to you. Lord, please help me. I make it into something. God is telling us right here in Scripture that yes, he's our provider. And yes, we all know that he has completely made a way out of no way for many of us. But he is also telling you here, in addition to all those things, he's giving you a plan so that you can actually plan yourself. So he can bless the plans. You can actually give this, look at here and see what the plan should be. He's telling you to sit down and figure out, can you do these things that you want to do? And that's in Luke 14:28. He entrusts us with our resources. So we all know it all belongs to God. That's the first thing that you have to really understand too. Everything that you have, everything that you are, it all belongs to God. So we have to sometimes change our mind to be like, oh, let me see if I want to give him. It's actually his. It's not that we're seeing, oh, let me throw this out. We know that the Lord loves a cheerful giver. So if it's actually his, what he's entrusting us with and what he's doing is seeing if we're willing to be obedient and do what we're supposed to do with it. And if we're willing to be obedient and if we can get blessed with more. If we should be blessed with more, because what are we doing with what he's already given us? And Pastor tells us a lot of times, you know, if you can't take care of a 1-bedroom, you're probably not going to be able to take care of a 5-bedroom. So that might not be what you need to be asking for at that time. So, you know, if you can't take care of what he's actually given you, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do with what he's given you, then that's something we need to evaluate with ourselves. Planning is part of wisdom. That is very important to know, that planning is a big part of having wisdom. Now, we don't plan as the world plans. We don't plan saying that this is the hard, fast plan no matter what. We plan so that we can do the will of God, but we're seeking him. We're seeking his wisdom. We're seeking the Lord while we're planning, while we're going through this. We are seeking what he would have us to do. So planning is still part of wisdom, though. And diligence and discipline are important virtues when it comes to our finances. Nobody is going to get ahead in this world without diligence and discipline. You're not going to get ahead. Now, you might think you are. You might try to cheat your way. You might try to feel like, oh, somebody's going to hand it to me. Somebody will give me this. But in that way, being foolish will not get you ahead. Even if someone gives you something, if you go and squander it, it's gone. So diligence and discipline are very important. When we're planning, when we're saving, and when we're giving faithfully, these are all things that make up stewardship. So you're planning, you're saving, and most importantly, you're giving faithfully. So now we're going to get into about the whole budget thing. We've been hearing about budgets, seeing budgets, talking about budgets. So can we go to the next one? Okay, the basic budget equation. So what were the two main things that I told you with budgeting? What are the two categories we have? Income and expenses. It's just that simple. Your income, what you have coming in, minus your expenses, that's your balance. That's what you have. So if you have more expenses than you have income, if you want to be in the positive, you got to either lower your expenses or up your income. It's very simple. It's not a complicated way to really get around that. And let me just make sure you understand that income is all money that's coming in into your home. We need to make sure that we're budgeting with all the money that's coming in. And I know, ladies, sometimes you might be like, well, wait a minute. I know we budget off of maybe his income, and this part is my income over here. No, the income should be, if you are in a family, whatever family, and it may not be husband and wife, if you have multi-generations living in a home, you should be budgeting your home off of all income that's coming in that home, because everybody is using the resources in that home. So it's all of the income that comes in the home that you should be sitting down and budgeting. Expenses. Expenses are all of your expenses. So we're writing expenses down. If you go back and you start looking at, you wrote down and you got your receipts and you're looking and you see that you were shopping and doing this month, shopping is one of your expenses. And you need to write all your expenses down. There are expenses that are fixed ones. So, your water bill, gas, electricity, maybe phone bill. Some of those are like your fixed expenses. But a lot of times, a lot of us have a whole lot of variable expenses too. And variable expenses are things, sometimes there's different categories. Sometimes it's the holidays are coming up, so you might have some gifts that you want to buy. That's going to be a variable expense. It's not every month, but you still need a budget and plan for it. Sometimes it might be a trip you want to take. You all know you want to go on a trip next June, so you might start saving or doing something like that. That might be a variable expense. But a big part of variable expenses are wants versus needs. That wants versus needs category. That's the one that gets every last one of us. It gets you every time, because we go someplace and you're like, ooh, I know I'm going to need this dress in September for YWCC because I need a purple dress. I'm going to know I'm going to need it. So, and it looks like it's on sale right now. So in your mind, you like, I'm doing the right thing because I need this dress in September, and I better go ahead and get it while it's on sale. Unfortunately, y'all, that's still a want. That is not a need. That is not a need, especially for a lot of us, and I'm including me in this when we probably got some purple, but it's still not a need. So that's the big thing is, once you start writing this down and budgeting, one of the big things that it helps you with is to see, where is your money actually going? What are you actually doing? Where is it going? What are you putting in? Where's the money being spent? So you get your receipts, you get your different things, and you start writing down and looking. And your balance is either going to be a surplus, which means that it's positive, or it's going to be a deficit, which means that every month you in the negative. That means you are making it on a wing and a prayer right now. That's really, you talk about God, the Lord being your provider. If your budget is a deficit, and you still here, he's definitely providing. You still got what you need, he's definitely providing. But with that, writing down is the important part here. So you can see, so you actually know, so you can see what all you're doing. So I'm going to actually ask you all for just a quick second here to let me know here. What do you think are some things that are definitely your want? What are some things that you think are definitely needs? So we're going to start over Okay, so we have clothes, but shopping. So this is why we want to talk about this, because a lot of times, a lot of us, we get it confused. It was like, well, I do need clothes. You need clothes. You don't need all the clothes. So if your budget doesn't say that you can get all the clothes, then we probably shouldn't be shopping at that time. We should be using the clothes that we do have, that we've already been blessed with. So this is why it's important to budget, though. We look at date night. If you are married, date night could very well be a need, and it is a need. But does that mean that you got to go to the restaurant where it's $50 a plate for date night? I don't know about that one, McDonald's, but that date night can mean a whole lot of things. So yes, it's very important to have that connection, but at the same time, you have to be conscious of what your budget is. You have to be conscious of what your money actually shows that you're capable of doing. So date night doesn't necessarily have to be one of the most expensive nights of the week. Date night can include a lot of things. When we're looking at shelter, shelter is a definite need. We need shelter, but we don't need the $3,000 apartment either. Just because they got a workout room and a nice little coffee machine, and I like the lady who greets me when I come in and all of that, if my budget doesn't say I can afford that, when I put it down, my numbers don't show that, I don't need that. So this is what when we're looking at our budget, we need to be mindful of. What are our needs versus our wants when we're putting it down? Initially, when we do our budget, and you can go to the next slide, please, Trent. Initially, when we're doing our budget, that's why it's important to look at the categories of our spending. We look at the needs versus the wants. We look at how we're saving money. Are we saving any money at all? Do we have an emergency fund? If you don't have an emergency fund, then all of a sudden you blow a tire, that blows your whole budget if you don't have an emergency fund, because it's not something you were expecting. Do you have debt that you have to repay? Are you repaying debt? Does that debt have a really high interest rate? And the most important category of spending is, are you actually giving your tithes and offerings? Are you actually giving the tithes and your offerings? You're doing, I know we say what we're supposed to do, but are we actually doing it? And I'm going to add a little extra one here, because are you tithing off your net or your gross? Because that's a whole big thing too. Your net is what you bring into your home. The gross is what the company actually says that you make. What your employer says you make is what they tell you your hourly pay times how many hours, or what your monthly pay is. That's your gross income. Your net income is what you bring into your house after they take out their taxes and some Social Security, and if you pay it for your insurance through it, then they give you what's left is your net income to run your home. Yes, whatever they take out and is what comes in your home is your net income, but what they pay you is your gross. Now, if you're paying your tithes off your net income, let me tell you all, when you actually look at that, when you get that tax refund check, that means that you should be tithing off that tax refund check. If you're getting that tax refund check, because you're kind of cheating in there, because you paid off your net all this time, then you get this other money back that they gave you that you had, and you're not thinking about the fact that, oh, this was actually the gross money. This was what I should have been tithing off of. So I threw that one out there as a freebie. That wasn't even on here, but I just wanted to move ahead there. The next part of this that we want to talk about when we're saying the giving, the tithes, and offerings. Can you go to the next one, please, Trin? is make tithing first. That's the simple and easy way to do it. You make tithing first. If tithing is first, and we know the scripture in Malachi 3 and 10, bring ye all the tithes in the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. If you make tithing first, then you don't have to think about it. It becomes a natural thing. We have Givelify. So in some cases, like, we just automate Givelify. We make it so that you're just doing it regularly. If not, Givelify. If that's not the way you choose to do it, that's not best for you. When you get paid, because that's one thing we do know is when we get paid. We know that day. So if you know when you get paid, automatically take the money for your tithes out right then. If you know when you get paid, if you need to write a check, you can write that check and make sure that you got the money to pay that check. Because the church shouldn't have to be paying extra fees because you don't have the money to budget and pay your check. So don't write the check unless you have the money. But when you first get it, think of the Lord first. Make tithing first. So when you are making the tithing first, then you demonstrate your trust in God. And you demonstrate your trust to God, like that you are trusting him. You know it's his, and you're trusting him with everything. Then you have the rest. You can allocate the rest to what your needs are, your savings, and what everything else is that you have in your budget. Can you go ahead, Trin? All right, steps to the family budget. It's easy when we start doing this. These are just some of the steps, and you can go on to the next slide. Actually, and I'll send this one to you, Sister Katrina, but you can go to the next slide, Trin. Ooh, and that one's just super small. Yeah, that one's small. So I'm going to go ahead since that one is kind of small there too, and tell you some of the categories here in the family budget that are listed on this slide here. Income. So this shows like a budget if you had income of $5,000 coming into your home. So how much should your tithes be at least? What's the least amount your tithes should be if $5,000 is the income that's coming into your home? Huh? 500. 500, and it doesn't mean that you only should do 500. That means that the 10% is where you should start. So let's make sure you know that that's where you should start. Now, you should be seeking the Lord on what he's telling you to give too. But we know it says about the 10%. So let's just start with the 10% to make sure that we're getting it in our mind here. So if our income is $5,000 and then we give a tithe of $500 right as soon as we come in. So how much do we have to maintain our home then? $4,500. So we start going through everything, and I don't expect you all to start subtracting all these numbers. I'm going to go through them here. We look at housing. Housing's about $1,200. Utilities, $300. Food and groceries. And eating out, $600. Yeah, that's not, and this budget is not probably a more recent one because transportation and fuel, gas, these cars take a lot of gas. So going to and fro, you dropping kids off and everything, next thing you know, your tank is on E. $400. Debt payments, paying back any kind of debt you might have, $300. You want to try to save. You want to save. So you want to make sure that saving is included in your budget. Savings or going toward an emergency fund. So let's just say here, this is about $300 going towards savings and emergency fund. Now we've done our tithes, but we do say tithes and offering. So you want to give an offering. You want to be able to give to something, or you want to be able to give to a charity, something that you care about, that you want to make the world a better place. You want to be able to give toward that if you can. So here we said maybe $100 to give either an offering or to a charity. Next we have entertainment, about $200 here in a month in entertainment. So you're not going to the most expensive restaurants on that date night. If you want to have one every week, you got to look at that. We say clothing and personal care in there. So once we get through, and that's, what was that, about $200 there. We get through this budget that's right here, and we get down to where we have an actual surplus. We have extra money at the end of the month in the budget here. We have extra money. That's a surplus of about $100. So that's a good thing. But what we don't do in that case is be like, I knew I had enough to go get that dress. That's because what we have to look at is, just because this is what the budget says, what are you actually spending? This is the thing. We've budgeted along the way, but what are we actually spending? What are we actually doing here? At times, did we really stay in that $600? Did we really stay for food and eating out? Did we have to drive more than we normally do? Was gas more than $400? So this is why a budget is important to have, so you look at what your plan is. But it's also important to maintain through the month, because as you're looking at your plan, what are you doing? Are you staying there weekly? How are you actually spending these amounts along the way? So don't just go up and be like, well, this budget says I have this, so you get your money on the 1st, you done paid your tithes, but then by the 4th, you done went and bought that dress because you say, I'm going to have $100 at the end of the month. We don't do it that way. We have to look at it to maintain it. Next slide, please. There we go. Thank you. All right. So emergency fund, we talked about that and how important it is to have it, because as we know, one tire and that $100 is completely gone. One small thing happened, your kid gets sick and got to go to the doctor, you got a copay or got something that you got to get medicine for, your $100 surplus could be gone. So it's why it's important to have an emergency fund also. And just so everyone knows what an emergency fund is, it's about 3 to 6 months of expenses. So that's what you're saving and building up toward when you say to put in an emergency fund. So at times like these, like right now when there's a government shutdown and military workers and federal workers, TSA people, air traffic controllers, they don't know if when they're going to get paid again, because people want to keep arguing in Washington. They don't know. And so with that happening, you need an emergency fund to cover you for some months to make sure that everything's going to be paid. You're going to still have that phone. You're going to still be able to have electricity in your home. So this is why it's important, until you have that emergency fund, when you do have that $100 surplus, that you're either putting that towards debt or putting that in to build that emergency fund. And when you're putting it towards debt, let me also say this. Make sure you're paying off the highest interest rates first, because you're really being charged a lot. If you got a credit card and it's got a 20% interest rate, you're not paying that balance off. You're not paying that balance off at all. That one item that you thought you wanted is ready to take and cost you. You're going to pay for it for about 10, 12 years. Keep paying for that one item with those high interest rates. And financial peace actually comes from having a cushion. Financial peace is what comes from when you know, and you might not be there. We're all working towards this, because everybody's expenses. And let me make sure everybody understands. Budgeting is based off what you make in your expenses. So it might look like this person makes so much money, but this person might have so many expenses too. And y'all might be in the exact same situation when the month comes to an end, or you might be in a better one, because their expenses might exceed. So this is all based off of you, not based off what somebody makes, but based off of how they spend their money. And reducing debt, it frees up your resources for you. That's why it's so important to reduce your debt. Can we go to the next one? So this is where we're going to talk about the common budget pitfalls, is what I say. A big thing with budgeting, and I might not do these in order, but they're all up there. A big thing with budgeting, too, is getting your whole family involved. Make sure everybody understands. I know a lot of people used to always say that, oh, in my household, they didn't talk about money with us. Like my parents didn't talk about money. We didn't really know and everything. That's not helpful. That's not a good thing. It is not good to not talk about money. It's not good to for children to not know what's going on. Number one, they need to know how hard you're working and what's really going on. So when they come and asking for stuff, they know where you are too. And I just want to take a quick pause here to commend my husband, because he is very adamant, based on what he was also taught, about our children knowing where we are, about our children knowing what's going on, knowing what we have, what we don't have. Trinity is one of the first ones. If somebody tries to tell her what can do, they'll be like, oh, well, you have all of this. She's like, I don't have none of that. My parents have that. And she's like, She'll tell kids, they say I have this, but they got better clothes than me. They got this and that than me. But she's like, I know that's because their parents are spending their money and not saving it too. So it's important for your kids to know. So I just want to say, you need to involve your whole family, because if you want to be successful at budgeting, the whole family has to be on the same page. And like I said earlier, a whole family does not necessarily mean it's a husband, a wife, and kids. It's whoever's in your house. If you have moms, grandmas, cousins, whoever's staying with you, everybody in that home needs to be a part of that budgeting meeting. And it's important to prioritize and actually have budgeting meetings. Well, another thing is with impulse spending. We all do it. We all impulse spend. You did all this grocery shopping and you are tired after doing all this grocery shopping, and there's Chick-fil-A right there, right after, and you mad at yourself because you just spent so much on all them groceries, and you don't even feel like going home and cooking something. The next thing you know, you sitting there in that line. I know I am. I'm scanning that app like, here, just go ahead and scan and take it. So with impulse spending, if you are at a place where when you sit down and look at it, you have a lot of impulse spending, it's not to be like, oh, well, I just can't budget. Don't start there. We're not going to say it, because everybody can budget. No matter what you have, where you are, everyone can budget. But start doing cooling off periods with your impulse spending. Start knowing, you get ready to go to the store, eat a sandwich at home before you go to that store. Because by the end of that process, you're going to be frustrated, hungry, different things. Eat something at home. Pack something. You have a lot of meetings, or you have, so you running somebody someplace. And instead of just being like, well, now I'm going to be in the car, pack yourself something. They got cooling bags, warming bags, heating bags. They can warm up anything while you're in the car. Pack some food for yourself so that you're not spending. You know that it's going to come a time where kids are going to need things. Kids grow really fast, y'all. Really, I don't know. My children grow like more than anybody I've ever seen, I feel like. Titus is 10 years old, y'all, and wears a 9.5 in men's shoe right now. He's going to be 10 years old in 2 days. So kids grow fast. So you have to plan for it. I mean, I can't have my baby walking around 2 small shoes. So, although we did do that and didn't know it at one point, I will tell y'all that. We didn't even know his foot had grown that much. But you can't have that, so you have to plan for those things. You have to be ready for it. It's going to come, and you have to know. But that means, because I know that's going to happen, at times when I want to just spend it, or I'm like, oh, that's so cute for him, I'm like, nope, because I know in 2 more months I'm going to have to buy him all new stuff anyway. So I have to be mindful of the budget pitfalls. This is another really big one. Stop underestimating what you really spending. Stop telling yourself that I'm only spending $100 on something, knowing if when you sit down and add those receipts up, it comes up to about $350. In your head, you tell yourself, and you'll start adding it up too, because I know I do it too. You'll start adding up. I think that was about $15. That was about, let me see, that was about $14. I haven't added a tax. I ain't added the 99 cents that was on it. None of that. By the time all that adds up, it was a whole extra $30 on the bill that I didn't even take into account. So stop underestimating. So you write it down. This is why it's so important. Write it down. Get your receipts if you need to. If you bank online, it makes it so easy for you because then you can just really go in and look at it. A lot of banks put it in categories for you and everything now. So go ahead and do that and write it down. Set reminders for yourself. Each week, set a reminder. Remind yourself to look at it because if you don't, this is not something you just naturally want to go look at. Set a quick reminder for yourself. And so that way you know, let me check in and see what I have actually spent. Because one of the other hard things is you realize it's what today? It's the 12th. Ooh, I didn't spend my whole food budget by the 12th. I got a lot of months left. So then I have to be mindful in other categories of what I'm doing too. Because the budget is what it is. The numbers are what they are. What's coming in the house, it didn't change just because I went over the budget already. So you have to actually go in and look and see what you're doing along the way. Not just doing a budget at the beginning and then I'm not going to look at it till the 31st. That doesn't work. You got to check it. Next slide, please. So I talked about there are some different tools, like if you bank online already, or you have your bank where you have a login to where you can go in and see your transactions, do it. So I'm gonna tell you all, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I used to be like, I was so on top of it. I was just really doing well. Then I got to the point where I was like, well, I automated all of the payments. All this stuff comes in and out. Y'all, I stopped looking at it. And then there was Minister Strickland who came back to me. When I stopped looking at it, it was like, oh, we're going to sit down and have a budget meeting because I had stopped looking at it. He was like, because something don't seem right. I went back in and saw what I was spending between traveling for my child's volleyball and doing different things. And it had gotten away from me. I will be very honest with you all. And this is me. I know about budgeting. I know how to do budgeting. I do this a lot. And even with that, I stopped looking at it. And once you go back and then you start pulling it up, you pull up that bank statement or you pull up, and a lot of the bank statements have where you can pull the transactions out so you can put them in the categories. You can look at your different categories. Yeah, we pulled that out and looked at that category and saw my travel budget. Yeah, I did. You so right, Elder Brown. I did not want to see it. He started talking about it. I started kind of turning toward the other way and looking the other way because then we realized, okay, we need to adjust some things. I need to adjust some things. And I mean, we had to deal with it regardless of whether I want to see it or not. That's the thing. You have to deal with it at that point. But seeing it helps. Looking at it helps. So pulling that out. There are some different budget apps. And I have them listed here. And one of them I actually have when I give you all this form here. It's on here. Every dollar is one that I would actually say for if you're just starting out budgeting, if you haven't been doing it before, every dollar is one to look at. Because it shows you, it says, let's plan where every dollar is going to go. And that's a free budgeting app that you can have on your phone. And you can just look at where the money is going. And you can set reminders in there too. So that does help with that. Sometimes it's just, I don't know if you've heard of Dave Ramsey, but there's just the basic envelope system. You have envelopes, and at the beginning of the month, how you budget is the money that you put in an envelope. But then you're not using cards, and that's really hard for me to not just swipe a card. So you have to actually have cash to do the envelope system. But for anybody who does use cash, you put money in an envelope and you say this is how much it goes towards it, so you see right away if you're overspending in that category. Another good tool resource, financial workshops. I mean, we're blessed to have one here, and we're going to be having some more of them, but also in the community, there are a lot of workshops and classes about your finances. Now, when you go to those, though, what you should be doing is knowing in your mind where your budget starts, because your budget is going to be different from some of the people's budgets in the world. So you know where your budget starts with that. But it's still good to attend some of those workshops. And a big one also is either having an accountability partner or accountability family, somebody who can kind of help you to be like, I thought you said y'all was saving for a trip. We've been at Park Plaza about 3 different times here. If we saving for the trip, just somebody just kind of whisper something in your ear. That's always helpful as well. So there are different ways that you can actually have somebody to help be accountable to you, and you be accountable to them about what you're doing. Because it might just be in your family. It might just be the people in your household. I know in our home, like with Trinity, we're trying to teach her, but at the same time, you know, she is a teenage girl, but we're trying to teach her. So there are times where she'll get money and she's like, oh, well, I'm going to do this and do that. And I'm like, I thought you wanted to go to that football game this weekend, because she gets a certain amount of money. When she gets that money, between gas for her car and she has to use it for gas for her car and whatever activity she wants to do for the weekend. So when I'll say that, and she's like, oh, well, I guess I won't do that. I won't stop and get this food then. And so she's learning that already right now, but that's important to do. Next slide, please. And we're almost done here. The family accountability and involvement is, like we said, have a monthly family money meeting. If you need to, have a weekly one, whichever one. Because not only is it good to have the meeting about it being your money meeting, it's also good because we're so busy. Kids are everywhere. Kids are on different devices. We're on different devices. We're working still at home. So that family meeting actually is a good time to just touch base with each other anyway. It's actually a good time to see spiritually, like, where are you at? Like, with our kids, like, they have a lot going on sometimes and we don't know. So it's like, what are you struggling with right now? What's going on with you? So that monthly family meeting about money can actually turn into a time for you all to reconnect as well. Another thing is make sure that children have age-appropriate tasks. We want them to know they are old enough. We see what all these kids can do on a device. They can fix stuff better than we can. They know what's going on. So if they can do all that, they can track their money too. If they can add and subtract, they can track their money as well. If they can't add or subtract, you can give them an app and they will learn to add and subtract on that app even if they don't know they're really doing it. They can track their money as well. So help them. Start giving them a little bit of the responsibility too to maintain and figure out what's going on with their own money. And then along the way, celebrate. Celebrate milestones. If you hit something, if you say, I stayed under this month, actually figure out a way for you to celebrate. It doesn't have to be that you're going to go spend the other money either, but find a way. Find something that you know that's going to make you happy to celebrate. Tell yourself, if I do this, then, you know, this is what we're going to do, so you have something to look forward to. Because it shouldn't all be just painful. This is for you to have, to be able to enjoy life, not to just suffer along the way. And, of course, review and adjust it quarterly. That's the big thing is review it like you're doing small reviews along the way. But if you need to make big adjustments to it, make sure you're doing that too, quarterly. And we say quarterly just because with holidays. Different holidays, different things kind of you need to adjust. So, and you need to take those into account. Now, here's what I'm getting ready to give you is, and this is just per household that we are doing these. So if everybody, yes. And I apologize because the copies on the second one, my copier kind of cut some of those things off. This first form that you all are getting is it's a simple little budget form, but I want you all to look at the bottom of that form, because we do a lot of talking and we say a lot of things, But we need action here. We need action with our budgets. And the second and third page of that, that's kind of just some of the steps. It's just a simple budgeting steps, if you can see those. And then it's something that shows you the Every Dollar website. That's from their app, Every Dollar. So it just kind of talks about how they do things, how they kind of simplify it. But that first form, I'm sorry, Sister Katrina, can I borrow yours? I think I gave Eldo mine. At the bottom of that first form, that first budget planner, and I'm not asking for these back or anything because this is a commitment that you all are making. This is a commitment between you and the Lord. It's not that you have to give anything back to me or prove anything or show anybody to someone else. And that commitment form says, I commit to creating my family's budget by that means you're going to put a date in there, that you're going to create your family's budget by this date, and to honor God by giving our first fruits through tithing. And that's not any of our business, whether you are already doing it, whether you're not. It's just saying that you are going to do it going forward, because this is between you and the Lord. So I commit to creating my family's budget. You're going to put what date you commit to doing that by, and to honor God by giving our first fruits through tithing. And then I want you to sign it and date it. And that's for you to hang on to and to be able to look at and know that you made this commitment to the Lord. You made it to yourself. You're making it for the betterment of your family, for generations to come. So, copy there. Thank you. And then, Trinity, can you go to the last slide there? The next one. I'm sorry. Okay, and this one has Proverbs 21 and 5. And it says, the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone that is hasty in his work shall lament. I'm going to read that again. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone that is hasty in his work shall lament. And as we're closing this out, we want to say, we're not saying that anybody is going to become rich. I'm not prophesying. I'm not saying that this is going to just lead you to the promised land. This is going where you just going to be millionaires and everything like that. That's not even the goal of budgeting, and that's honestly not the goal of money. That's not what money is actually for. But this is for us to actually be good stewards of what the Lord has given us, what he is allowing us to use. This is for us to be able to do our best. And it's also for us to be able to help others. Because in order to help others, then we need to be able to help ourselves. In order for you to go out and do for others, you need to make sure that you're able to do for yourself. I will tell you all, one of the jokes in our house from Steve Harvey Comedy is he said, he tells his family, one of the best ways to help broke people is not be one of them. He's like when his family and everybody comes to him and different people, he's like, one of the best ways for me to help people who don't have is me not becoming another one of them. So that's the running joke in our home is do what we can, what we know the Lord has taught us to do and telling us to do and leading us to do, so that we can help other people, so that we're in a position where we're putting ourselves, as much as we're in control of, in a position to be able to help others and to do what thus saith the Lord. And I'm going to leave you with this. Reinforcing budgeting plus faithful giving equals peace, provision, and stewardship. And that's what we have to remember. If you reinforce that budgeting, and you know that once you reinforce in your budgeting that you're giving faithfully, then you're able to have peace, provision, and know that you are being a good steward of what the Lord has given you. So thank you all so much. And if you have any questions, we'll open up for questions here. Any questions at all? And like I said, I can send this out, and I apologize because I thought it was dark enough. Questions, concerns? Thank you.
Do you have any concern on what were presented?
Thank you, Deacon Simpson.
What we need you to do is do it now. Don't put it off. Don't lay it down because that's a tendency. So if you lay it down now, it'll be there for a while. But please do it ASAP while it's fresh on your mind. And go through it with your significant other or your whole family because we're all in this together. All
Amen.
right? Okay?
And if anyone thinks of any questions or concerns or anything, I think most of you have my number or information. If you don't, you can see me afterwards, and I'm willing to help. If anyone would like to talk through like the budgeting as you're doing it and something comes up, I'm willing to help then as well. So just let me know because we want to, as Pastor said, we want to do this now. This is not something that we need to wait on. We want to get started right now. So thank you all.
The PowerPoint, yes.
Yes, I can send that out. I can, or you have it. We can send it out.